Healthy Podcast. I don't know what number this is, but it's got to be getting into the...
It's like 1,000?
Yeah, 1,000. Somewhere around there. If not 5 million. But subscribe, view.
We predate Joe Rogan.
Chime in. Yeah, stuff like that. But here's the real deal. We're actually here on a Sunday morning. We missed Friday for a little conference we went to. And we're going to circle back to everything. But our conference we attended was about men's health. What were your thoughts on it? Pretty cool little experience.
Honestly, I just wish we had more time. I mean, Allie does a great job putting together fantastic speakers, great environment. I mean, everything about it was top notch. So if you're in the field, whether you're a fitness professional or medical practitioner, the Silverback Summit was, I can't wait to go back next year and hopefully do the whole thing.
Yeah, it was really neat. And I always say this because last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, we went to another conference that was gym forward, right? So the whole driving force behind it was the gym end of it. And then I tagged along as a medical professional. The neat thing for me, excuse my cough to anybody who's bothered by it.
Marcus.
The neat thing is in many arenas, how I look in appearance, meaning when I go to medical conferences, normally when I say something, everyone's like, oh, you're a doctor. Like, I guess I don't fit the aesthetic for that role in the regular medical world. Whenever I'm at these gym conferences though, and I am presented to somebody as, oh, this is the doctor, Marco's the doctor. It's never even a hesitation. They look at me, especially at the Silverback. Oh, hey, how you doing, man? Like, not even a hiccup in their step about, oh, this guy could be or couldn't be, or his looks might be a doctor. Why? Because we met bioscientists, gym rats, MDs, and everyone had one thing in common, and it was health. So nobody gave a shit if you had a beard, a hat on, glasses, blue hair, purple mohawk, whatever. Because everybody had muscles, everybody was fit, and everyone was confident. So Silverback Summit, really, really cool experience. Mike mentioned we didn't have enough time while we were there. So the reason we didn't have enough time was we had to scurry on home for the RTS challenge. Give us a little recap of what the thought was behind it, what inspired it here in the gym, because every so often there's internal challenges, or I don't know how you guys phrase them. More so I'm a consumer on the gym end of the things here, so I'd love to know what goes on.
This is just kind of probably a good insight for people who run, micro gyms. That's what we were classified under. It's just, how do you keep client engagement up? And we've traditionally always have multiple things going throughout the year to make sure that clients are getting their money's worth, in all honesty, and getting as much value out of their experience as members here as possible. So one of the big things that we do is our internal challenges, which typically fall under a couple different categories. The transformation challenges, where it's like, how can we lose weight? Can we get muscle? Can we, look good in the before and after kind of
not
thing?
Feel like shit.
Right. And so we run those, and we're talking to a guy that won $25,000 for his transformation. I think you could speak on that.
It worked well.
But yeah, it works.
I owe you a lot of my life, Michael.
But the bigger thing is like, I don't want to just default to having people have the idea that they just have to diet down all the time for something to be meaningful. So this time around, like, we really wanted to push this idea of performance. So what we decided was, can we have a 6 or 7 week course where people are highly motivated, extremely accountable, and really pushing, getting the most out of their training?
Yeah.
And because that's another thing. It's like, we do all this work, we do all the grunt work, and it's like, what's the payoff? And I think outside of the athletic realm, especially in general pop, people don't really think about performance enough, which is probably another conversation. But like, what does this look like when you go compete? Because competitive greatness is something that we really try to adhere to as a staff, making sure that we're motivated to do our best for our clients. And so for our clients to figure out what they really want to sacrifice and suffer for, and that's for each other and for driving fitness qualities, right?
Yep. And I'd like to at some point come back to that. What are we really competing for?
Yeah. So anyway, in the long story short, it's like, we had about 30 people sign up for this 6-week challenge, if you will, where they had to find an accountability buddy to do this training with for the majority of the week. So it raises the stakes, it raises the standards. And then on the competition day, you actually compete with your, and we call it tag team, your tag team partner for these events. There's 6 events that you basically go full tilt. You tap out, you tag in your partner, they jump in, and it's just like that for a certain amount of time. And you accumulate points, and you're competing against the field of other tag team, micro teams to see how much you can
it was
output.
It was awesome. So for any of the viewers or listeners, so I competed in it, and my partner and I did pretty well, and it was awesome. But I had a statement. There's been times where I was like preseason sore, college preseason sore, where you worked pretty hard, but you weren't ready for that first day of engagement. And that night you realize, wow, my legs hurt. But this was like summer camp lacrosse sore, where you were 14, you did nothing, you had no anything going on. You were like fishing, swimming, running on the beach. That's what we used to do back in the day in the 90s. And then you go to camp and somebody says, oh, we're going to play 9 scrimmages today, and you play those. That's the type of sore this is. It was an incredible event. I think I was talking about it with somebody yesterday. I think it's pretty neat to push your limit. We had this conversation at dinner with some amazing people. We broke bread with a guy from Australia. Well, no, born in South Africa, living in California.
Krugerrand.
Unbelievable human, interacting with a lot of people. And one of the things we talked about was pushing that forward barrier of how far you think you can actually go. So yesterday I was talking with someone, and I made a couple statements. I think sports as a child are really important for one major reason that's sometimes overlooked. Unless you play a sport, you're never usually in a situation where you're going to have to push yourself physically to the point of failure, where you can't take another step, right? Like in everyday life, if you're walking around the house, you're never going to walk around the house until like, oh my God, I can't take another step in the kitchen. You hit the floor, right? But in sports, you get to try that. And as a kid, there's not many arenas where somebody says run and you have to run until you can't run anymore, or dribble a ball or shoot baskets until your arms are so tired you can't shoot another one. So I think discovering that new limit is a cool and an inviting experience for a lot of people. Some people, I think it scares. But the challenge in what you just described as having been done in the gym recently and over time, you guys do them every so often, is it allows you to recalibrate where you can go with your effort. And it's an interesting thing. What are we competing for? Back to that question, right? It's not really what we're competing for on a day-to-day basis that we can see sometimes. But we say it all the time. If you are healthier physically, mentally, biologically, metabolically, when you walk into the meeting that might be about your finances and estate planning, or it might be about a divorce proceeding, or it might be about a cancer diagnosis, or it might be about your kid in school, whatever it might be, you're going to handle that interaction better too. So when you describe to somebody who comes in, like, why would I do a challenge like this? Like, what's your sales pitch? You know what I mean? Like, how would you get me? I'm just a random, like, well, I'm 40. I'm in pretty good shape. I think I'm doing okay. Blah, blah, blah. How do you get that person to say, hey, this is a new thing. It's not just a challenge, but invite them to reverse that thing where, okay, nobody notices the process, so now here's the result. How do you get that newer body, newer person who's like, well, I think I have a pretty good result, and show them that, hey, you need to get back engaged with the process? Is that a possibility too on those?
If we're talking about someone new, I think the challenge for them is to start something new. When you start to get comfortable, right? Like, yeah, I go to the gym all the time. Yeah, I count my macros. Yeah, it's like, okay, so now you're just probably checking the boxes a little bit. Yep. Like it's hard to be super motivated. And like we talked about, 2 weeks ago, just like, for me, it's kind of brushing my teeth, and I thought about that as like, well, am I actually getting the most out of my training now? If that's how I actually, equivocate those two behaviors to. Right. So I think when we have
he's so messed up.
When we have these people that have been here a long time, and like if you looked at the client roster, all those guys are like they've been here for years, which also illuminates the fact that they want to be challenged. They just don't know how.
Yeah.
Because sometimes routine breeds complacency, right? And I'm not saying that they don't care or they don't try hard, but how hard are you actually trying?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's listening, that's I believe Mike just said something emotionally and psychologically and socially very complicated. You are an extremely regimented human. That's how you got where you are. That's how you maintain a physique. That's how you maintain health. That's how you maintain a business. That's how you maintain a family. But with such a high drive that you're willing to deconstruct a plateau you reached where working out like a savage for an hour to 2 hours every day or 4 times a week becomes so routine that you're nervous, you're going to become comfortable with that and not progress. I don't think the average individual understands how complicated of a mindset that is to be in, but that's a successful mindset. I think if there's anything somebody could take home that has purely like sociology type reference in their brain, that statement is huge, right? You're willing to deconstruct a really good routine. Most people would pay huge money for you to help institute that routine in their life so that they could be like, all right, whew, now I can manage exercise, nutrition, work. This is a good place. And you're like, no. I got to tear that all fucking down and reinvent a new process to maybe make me feel like I'm trying harder, which is really messed up in terms of the desire for a little bit of chaos in the process to get to a better result. What do you think fuels that, right? Like you've been at this for however many years. What keeps that fire going to continue to, as you say, evolve, which is the place to do it, in the gym?
I think part of it is just the inherent fear of staying the same. Because if you stay the same for a long enough period of time, you will decline.
Yeah.
And that could mean like as a spouse or as a business owner or in your own physical fitness or whatever. So I guess I'm constantly trying to audit, where I am versus where I should be, or should's a bad term, but where I'd like to be, and then try to parse out like what are the things that I could do better on.
Right.
And I learn a lot about business from lifting and lifting from business. Like it's actually the same thing to me. So for example, like we know that if you don't struggle a little bit in the weight room, that you don't suffer a little bit in the weight room, you don't really make all that much progress. Same freaking rule as it comes to business or anything else in your life that's meaningful. It's like you're going to have to go against shit that's not fun. You're going to have to overcome, which I think is like if you zoom out of the term strength, it is just the ability to overcome adversity. Yeah. Like it's literally that overcome. Right? That's what strength is. You have 500 pounds on your back and you didn't come up.
Yep.
Okay, so I got to get stronger to overcome that external force, that resistance.
Yep.
There's 500-pound back squat analogy to every part of your life is just, are you willing to do the work to overcome that thing in your life?
Yeah.
So if I'm at, let's say, X revenue, if I'm using that as an objective marker to make my business move or evaluate where my business is, then what are the things that I have to practice, develop, work, try to address to get me over that hump? And that takes a really... it's humbling. Yeah. And it's also partly defeating. It's like, oh shit, I'm not doing everything I can, or I'm not doing it well enough. So. Yeah.
I also think we're a little lucky. This isn't a chummy, stupid moment, but we're in a nice position now too, where it's rare you have situations where when times like that hit you, you have somebody to like bounce off where, all right, I got pounded. Hey, Mike, like I just got wrecked with A, B, and C. Like, what do you think? It's nice to have a voice to talk about it with, and I think interact with in terms of opinions from different angles of view. Like what you just said about progressing your own personal training and well-being because of your concern for being too regimented. It makes me giggle because it's so absurd. That's like, I would never have thought that. Like I'm in my mind right now, I'm like, all right, working out, work, I got that under control. Like I got this pretty much going. Like, oh, this is good. Like I'm not willing to deconstruct just yet. Now training styles and stuff, whatever you put me through, great. I'm talking about like, I feel like I'm getting where you must be to then then reverse flow again. It's an interesting thing in terms of prioritization of health, what we train for, what we're capable of the limits we go to. And before we get to the Women's Health Initiative, because I can't wait to talk about it, I just didn't want to like start too soon, because once it starts, it's not going to stop.
Right.
So whoever's listening, keep with us, because the Women's Health Initiative is a huge deal that we're going to talk about. But I recently had a person who worked in a government facility, without using names, and he's a healthcare professional in that facility. Well, things changed with healthcare premiums and whatever might have happened. He informed me that he was withdrawing from the program because it was too expensive. He's a healthcare professional, right? He, I know, doesn't, there's probably a couple things he could cut out of his life to maintain the health. He finally got really healthy, finally got a grip on it. But the one thing that human who's in healthcare is willing to cut out is the voluntary healthcare he had. So I don't know then how to re-educate even the healthcare professionals of how important healthcare maintenance is and what a lack of it exists. But why do you see it? I mean, you must see it all the time. I have to be throwing a lob up in the air that like, oh, fuck, Mike, the grocery bill got more expensive. The couple $100 to the gym, I can't afford, right? Why do people cut that out? And even a healthcare professional? I don't understand. Do you have any reasoning behind that?
Because it's the easiest thing to do.
Like I can't,
like it's the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, like being healthy is hard.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it doesn't seem like if I stop going to the gym or stop counting my calories, it won't hurt me tomorrow. But if I don't have my phone, if I can't access the internet at
right.
home, or whatever the conveniences that we've become more than accustomed to having, that's threatening to us. Like, yes. That's immediate. So it's the opposite of the immediate gratification. It's the immediate consequence for my decision of not having the internet. It's not convenient now.
Right.
Right. Like, so I think when people put health in the hierarchy of needs of their life, it's just easy to push back.
Yeah.
And be like, well, I should be fine for the next couple of years if I don't really maintain this type of endeavor or pursuit. Because again, it's the path of least resistance. It's easy to say, well, I'll pick up later.
I'll pick up later. Yeah. And another interesting thing in this field too is, and it happens a lot with healthcare professionals, I got this. Right? So somebody walks into an office. I just had this happen. Somebody walked in who was a doctor. We did some stuff. They got much healthier. And then they were like, I think I got this on my own. Like, well, I'm not really paying for much. So I'm just going to withdraw. But no hard feelings. Like, thank you so much for helping me. Now, in like 8 months, we got rid of fatty liver disease. Blood sugars changed drastically. Muscle mass changed. And it's fine. But health coach, which I think is a very dynamic term, but anyone involved who actually interacts with a human to try to promote their health. So outside of doctor, most likely, but now including at least one in this facility. The promotion of health and the advice given sometimes seems like the process is easy because then you get to this result. So just like a little kid, like my son, for instance, if I teach him how to do something, he doesn't realize how much effort went into him learning how to do it. He's just like, oh, I can kick the ball now. Yeah. If I can do that, I can climb on the roof. You know what I mean? So like these people get healthy. They come in so sick. You give them the instruction sheet. And then at the end of it, they're like, no, Mike, I got my own programs. I'll write those. How often do you see that?
Well, we used to see a lot of it because if you think of how we acquire clients, how we kind of nurture them and get them in our system, it used to be very much along the lines of like, hey, let's go all in for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And let's just say, or 6 to 8 weeks. And then in those 6 to 8 weeks, their goal is to lose 20 pounds. And then they lose the 20 pounds. A lot of those people would then leave, be like, well, so I got what I wanted. But it's like, yeah, but we did a bad job, I guess, educating on keeping it off. It's
Right.
like, it's analogous to be like, I'm going to pay you money to get me to $1 million, but then I stop once I get the $1 million, and I don't know how to preserve the $1 million.
Right. Instant broke.
I'll be back next year because I've wasted the $1 million.
Yep.
So that's what and we used to see these people come in and come out of our facility.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
Yeah.
Because to me, it means we didn't teach you anything.
Yep.
So we then design our upfront programming to be more along the lines of continuity. So it's like, all right, let's say that the first goal is weight loss. Then the second one is like, well, how do we keep it off? Because some of the habits have to change. Maybe the lessons and tactics are similar, but it's creating a different vantage point for them to view. Like, well, you don't want to go back, do you?
Right.
You don't want to be the yo-yo dieter.
Right.
You don't want to lose some of the things that you've put in place in your life that keeps it off. And then it's just about like resetting goals. Like maybe your target after losing 25 pounds is to put muscle on and gain weight.
Yeah.
You know, like, and we can talk specifically about like the metabolic upside of that.
Yep.
But it's really hard to cram in the first 6 weeks of weight loss.
Yeah.
Specifically fat loss, because most people don't even know the difference between that. So I think we do a lot better job of getting people on for the long haul right from the get-go, even though we still have these upfront programs that are designed at what's the first target in your overall goal sequence.
Yeah. I also, when you say that, it brings to mind a thought, like we post videos of workouts and consistency and stuff. And part of why I do that is because I want people to know, like, if we ever say, hey, go eat broccoli, you're not all of a sudden going to eat broccoli and like bench press 300 pounds. That has nothing to do with it. It's watch how much consistent effort it takes in the weight room, and then use the little tools we add on, like maybe eating broccoli or an extra piece of chicken. But the big thing is accumulation over time. And you've been doing this forever, to the point where, like, I mean, recently you had a little bit of a back irritation, whatever. I mean, you still have vascularity in your abdominal muscle, right? So when you build up so much resistance and resilience to external threat, you become, you allow yourself to cope with these outside influences even easier. But it's that process of everyday grinding, consistent, in the gym, in some sort of environment to move exercise-wise, get your body going so that your metabolic health markers get better. I liken health exactly, you said working out, gym, business. Health is like the stock market. So some people come in and they're just like, well, I feel better, but I'm still having days where I don't sleep well. It's like, listen, that is going to be impossible. There is no perfect human on the planet that sleeps the perfect amount, it just doesn't happen. Do I think that can happen? Never, because we live in an environment with external cues that we can't always control. Even if you isolated this room and turned it dark, you might have a flash bang of lightning, right? But the stock market goes up, and if it's trending in that direction and you're playing the right cards, a little investment more in your liver, a little investment more in your metabolic wellness with carbs, a little bit more investment in your futures with some resistance, eccentric training, a little bit more, maybe shorten the market on a quick little, maybe keto burst for a few days. Like, you can still play the same finance game with your health, but the people that short the market and play all these games, they do fine here. But who wins the real long battle? The Warren Buffett. And what's his style? One of the best investors ever. Put it in, do it with brains, follow data, and let it ride, right? But with consistency in following a process, in not needing those daily spikes, but like trends over time, and health is the same. So what people need to know is, like, you're never in this game for 6 weeks. You're in it forever, because you are playing it whether you want to or not, right? When you sit down at dinner and you're like, fuck it, nobody's looking, I'm putting more butter on my bread. You know who's watching? You. Yeah. You are. You're killing yourself, right? So, like, those decisions, I think we need to try to help empower people. Now, the obvious thing we got to talk about.
Big.
So, Women's Health Initiative in 2002 came out with this giant statement. Now, Women's Health Initiative was the global push for women's health, right? Like, let's go save women. and they put out data and clearly stated to the population of women healthcare providers, estrogen will cause an increased risk of cancer, strokes, blood clots, cardiovascular disease, and uterine cancer. Okay, black box warning, huge label. I got calls about it constantly because I would sit in my office for the past 2 years and I would be telling people, hey, estrogen doesn't cause cancer. Because it doesn't. Estrogen does not cause cancer. Okay, the FDA was lying. The Women's Health Initiative was false, fake, wrong data. So people would then call me and say, well, I sat in your office and you looked me dead in the eye. Someone said this, and you told me estrogen doesn't cause cancer. And I get this label from the government that says it does. And I still looked them in the eye and said it does not, because that's the truth. But I'm fighting a power that's much higher. That's a story of a personal account of how information like that can dribble down to the point where somebody is ruining and effectively deterring themselves from being the healthiest they can be because of false information and a false information campaign. What do we do with this now? Because now you have this like estrogen is safe, but you're going to have doctors that stick to it. You're going to have naysayers that still are like, oh, no, the FDA said that because the political climate, they're just making it a thing now because of the politics and because of... How do we now regrip that and reframe it? Because in the exercise industry, this happens constantly, right? Like you fought the powers of CrossFit for how long now? Like you're still fighting it. That HIIT is not the best version of exercise for really anyone. So what do you think a good approach in terms of a medical professional, asking your advice here, in terms of encountering that discussion? Because women are going to come in and continue to say estrogen causes cancer because nobody's really updated them on this.
Part of the responsibility of especially medical practitioners is the accountability that they have to kind of retract their position.
Yes.
Do I think that's going to happen? I don't think it's going to happen at the same rate as what I'm going to suggest is that people that are doing the work that you're doing in the field have to speak louder, and they have to be they have to broadcast this message stronger, louder than ever before. So I'm like, especially coming out of that summit the other day, where people are still fighting on the men's health side for proper recognition of what they're doing, proper techniques and interventions. It's even more important on, I think, the women's side, because it's been such a permeating study and reference point to not only negate the efficacy of what you do, but to basically call you a charlatan. Yeah. And people like you. I'm not just saying you're persecuted by yourself. Right. The whole profession of age management, hormone replacement therapy, especially for women, has had this black cloud for the last 2 decades. Yeah. And people, like you said this, an OB like threatened you.
Multiple times.
About like when that woman that you're treating with estrogen gets breast cancer, she's going to put you in jail. Yeah. You know what I mean? So do we get a public apology? Does she retract her statement? Right. No, probably not. Right. And that's just the reality of it. But again, I'm going to say the responsibility now is on the people, the practitioners who are practicing with good medicine, with good research, to speak up and have their work be the number one advocate for what they do.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing, too, is sometimes the response from the clients who fought me so hard on the estrogen was like, well, all right, I guess you were right. It's like, well, all right, I guess you were right. I mean, it's insanity
real
to
quick.
me.
So as soon as that happened, that was officially stated on Monday that they're taking the black box.
Off the...
Be a little confident here and what happened the actual next day.
In terms of press release.
Yeah.
We went on Fox News. I was on Fox News.
You were on national news.
Correct.
Debunking.
Correct.
And solidifying your position.
Yes.
Which is no small feat.
No, which was a pretty awesome experience too, because, it's an interesting dynamic politically because that news station is looked at as super far right leaning. Yeah. But in actuality, that segment of what we were talking about
Neutral.
was purely neutral, and like the estrogen campaign has no politicization, whatever that word is, in terms of right, left, whatever. Healthcare should not see a political boundary. So like this information once out there, we commented on, had the opportunity on Fox in the Morning to get in there and discuss. And I want to ask a question to the women listening. If you are a female listening to this of any age greater than, onset of your periods, menarche, have you gotten an email from, or a text message from, or a phone call from, or some sort of outreach from your PCP or your OBGYN to discuss your use of hormones? And here's why I'm asking this question. It's a little bit of a mind game, but I will ask it out loud. If you do not get addressed in a certain manner from that doctor prescribing, and you are on any sort of hormone replacement, being birth control or any menopausal treatments, if you're on birth control, they should call you and also tell you the rest of the findings in the WHI. The rest of the findings in the WHI were not that bioidentical, which is the form of estrogen that should be used in hormone replacement therapy. That actually causes less cancer. But the non-bioidentical arm, which is the type that they hand out in birth control all day, that your OB gives your teenage daughters, or if you're in your 20s or 30s and you're a female listening, that your OB hands to you on a daily basis, or your PCP gives to you on a daily basis because you have irregular bleeding, some painful cramps, some headaches, some PMS symptoms, things like this that are easily cured in a different manner, that those actually do cause increased risk of cancer, increased risk of clots, increased risk of stroke, increased cardiovascular risk, increased risk of hypercortisolemia, increased risk of hyperprolactinemia, increased risk of osteopenia, osteoporosis, and the list goes on. So they should call you even if you're not a postmenopausal woman and explain to you the dangers of what they've been giving you. But they won't do that. And I don't think they have. So to answer your question, if you think the outreach has been there, I don't. Now, the WHI has been viewed, you're outside the quote-unquote medical community. I feel like you're in it now because we talk constantly about it. But being outside, if I said to you, the Women's Health Initiative is an advancement for women's health care now, would you say that's a positive? Because I have argument to that. Like, do you think this was a major advancement in women's health?
No, I actually don't. I mean, retracting something without creating a responsibility to do what's right for the millions of people that were wronged over the last 20 years, I don't really see it as an equal consequence or protocol to right the ship.
Yeah, so I agree. We didn't plan that, by the way. He said that question without knowing it was coming. And the funny part is, it's not an advancement. They essentially took their foot off the back of women's necks. Like, we were drowning women consciously, and then we're like, fine, we won't continue to drown you.
But they didn't help you out of the water.
Yeah, it's bananas. So, like, we still have so much work to do. And the women's health arena is wide open, right? And there's really no women's health care that exists. And we always say this. We're never in opposition to OB or modern medicine or endocrinology or anything. We just want to help and improve it. So as a women's health initiative, instead of writing it for the avoidance of cancers and blaming an outside force for what is our own issue right now, right? Health. How can we attack the Women's Health Initiative with better women's health from our ground floor startup?
Can I just back up
wherever you want to go? Of course.
Because maybe I'm wrong assuming this. So when they made the statement last Monday about, the WHI was incorrect and, there's no real threat to using these things. Actually, there's plenty of benefit. It's not because they discovered and they went back to the research and discovered something new, correct?
Correct.
So it's been known to be wrong for over 20 years.
Correct. Misinterpretation of data is what they call it. It's a very colloquial.
Sure, But if you actually just looked at any, without just taking it at face value,
Yeah.
which maybe a consumer, you can kind of justify.
Yeah.
But as a medical professional, not actually knowing the reason why you say something will kill you, I think, is that not malpractice, or at the very least medically negligent?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I would believe so.
So if I was practicing medicine, I don't know this. So
Yep.
if I was practicing medicine for 20 years doing something that is medically negligent, I have no responsibility to correct that for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
But so now,
I think you do.
So now, if I don't know how many OBs and PCPs are listening to this, but I do know a lot of women that you treat and care for. Listen to this. What do they say to their daughters, their moms, their aunt, their friends?
Right.
They should go and ask their cohorts to go to their OBs and be like, "Can you explain this?"
Yeah.
Like,
tell us.
Tell me now, because you told me that this thing for the last 20 years would kill me.
Yeah.
And now it's false.
Yeah.
How do you justify that? And that will be the great reveal of their either incompetence, ignorance, or just lack of care.
Yeah.
And then you should run to someone else,
Instantly.
medically speaking.
The other interesting thing about it is it really defines for me who reads the literature in their own field.
Yeah.
And it sends me back. I won't use names, but in New Haven, there's a breast surgeon who used to be pretty high up. And she did a lot of like oral examination in the OR. And she used to always like pimp you and really get into you. And I was in her OR once, and this was as a resident, way before my voice got loud enough to like scream about it. And we had a discussion about estrogen causing cancer even back then. And that discussion, she was one of the bigger forefront women's health experts. And she was very irritated with the fact that I didn't believe that estrogen caused cancer. Like, we had this discussion in the OR. And at that point in time, I didn't realize where it would take me. But it was a funny thing because she was a leading health expert. The problem is they don't read their own literature. So like the WHI came out, it's a huge series of papers and reviews, and it's all this website and smoke and mirrors and bullet points. So they're just like, hey, let us save you the time. Don't read this 30-page paper. It's a bunch of extra words. And, we had to submit it to the paper reviewing committee so that they could review it. So I'm going to save you a ton of time. Don't waste your time on the data. Here's what we did. But at the end of it, because I'm saving you time, just read, here's the bullet point that says estrogen causes cancer. Sound good? And every fucking doctor was just like, yeah, that sounds great. Estrogen causes cancer. You got to think logically, people. Like, come on. If you can say estrogen causes cancer, I say this all the time, I can prove to you that oxygen does too. Because it does. Every single human on the planet that breathes oxygen and has cancer, both things are true. Yeah. In every case.
And the more oxygen you breathe, the more likely you are to
every time
have cancer.
Every single fucking time. It's amazing as the dose goes up, right? So like, come on. Enough with the accounting. So like you said, without screaming malpractice, like, how do you take data that was not interpreted appropriately by the people that did the study? You got to assume there's some behind the scenes stuff going on. So much so that the world also won't even, like obesity, all of these pandemics we're dealing with. So in 2002, when the WHI came out, 10 million women went from hormone replacement therapy instantly off of it onto antidepressants, anti-anxiolytics, and antipsychotic meds. I like talking about that quite a bit because exercise has now proven 100% to be more effective than any pill for depression. What do you think a proper protocol is, WHI out of the box now? Like, a woman goes into their PCP or comes and sees anyone who's dealing with their healthcare and they say, I'm really depressed. Involved in that should be an exercise nutrition component. What do you think about that? Because now if we're on WHI, women's health, let's actually make women's health work. Where would you start with that person?
From like a casual consumer that's...
Yeah, like, hey, I think I need hormone replacement. I don't do any exercise and I'm really depressed.
Yeah, well, okay, so let's take a look at what you're doing with your time. Right? Like, so if you're sitting home, self-loathing, wondering why the world's against you, it's like, let's do something about it that might be constructive, positive, and also a very good reinforcement for the life that you want.
Right.
Because clearly whatever you're doing right now is getting you none of that. So, but this is also where like we can take a very objective look at someone and then allow their subjective narrative to backfill those pieces. Like we're not saying that the numbers are going to tell us everything.
Right.
But it does give us back-end confirmations on a lot of things that people feel and want to express and maybe can't really articulate what's wrong.
Yeah.
So we can at least help them explain their feelings through objective measures and metrics. And then that allows us to create a correct treatment plan so that the interventions that we provide have high leverage and high ROI responses.
Yep.
And I think that's the crux of what we do, no matter if you're suffering with, syndrome X.
Yeah.
You want to get better, you want to get leaner, or you just want to feel better about yourself. Like all of it's the same to me. And maybe because I have such a zoomed out perspective of all this, but if someone has the human or experiencing the human condition in a negative way, it's like, well, what can we actually do about that? What do we know about that? Yeah, 100%.
So Women's Health Initiative, that's a Women's Health Initiative, what we just talked about, right? And then Women's Health Initiative related, if you come in and you're in that situation and you haven't explored nutrition and exercise, you have to, right? Like if you don't do that, you can't get healthy ever. So I think in terms of women's health, we got to start looking at it less of a reactive. We're always reactive. So women, instead of waiting until you're in your 70s to start addressing your healthcare, when you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, start thinking about this stuff. And if the Women's Health Initiative does anything, because we can't change it, right? There's no way to reverse time. There's no way to go back to 2002 and grab the primary investigating team on that and just be like, guys, come on, don't ruin this. You could really make a good impact. They messed up, okay? So now we're 20 years deep into a really huge error. But how do we right the ship? Because if we keep going down that antipsychotic, Wellbutrin, antidepressants, those medical roads, we're never going to right the ship. So we got obesity, depression, they all kind of go hand in hand. And that snowball ends up coming into how do you consolidate all of that person's care and get them feeling good? And I think what we have here is the answer to that, right? And the answer to that is putting it all in one spot with not algorithmic, but specific training programs to places where they are in their life in terms of, have you just had a baby? Like we have people on the floor now that had babies 2 weeks ago. We have people that are pregnant. We have people that had babies a year ago, people that had babies 2 years ago. And if you look at these people's blood panels and their exercise regimens, they're not of the normal walking around, whatever that might be. They have a lot of derangements because having a child is a big thing. So women's health has so much more. And the fact that they threatened women with estrogen just... it really gives me a lot of distrust in the system because I don't know how you can do that. Now, men's world, testosterone is like the antichrist, right? Like if you're...
It's the same thing.
Yeah, and you've been living in a gym world where testosterone was always like, oh, testosterone. It's like, guys, everybody on the planet has some testosterone in them. The better people have the optimal levels. Like what is wrong with that? So what do you think the next steps, right? So we had this WHI revealing, we had this men's health encounter over the weekend that was spectacular. What do you think the next phase of this for like the healthcare arena, things we can do to help people get better? What do you think that next step is?
It's interesting coming off, we had that event on Monday where, the FDA has kind of walked back their stance. Fast forward to the last couple of days of last week where we went to this summit about men's health predominantly. And like really all you're seeing is a movement.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the people that are actually just fed up. And that's the end user. That's the provider. That's the practitioner. That's the coach. That's the nutritionist really wondering what the hell is wrong.
Yes.
Systemically, and again, I'm going to give credit to Allie here. When she did her first summit like 3 or 4 years ago, there was like 50 people in the room. 4 years later, it's 6X. It was 300 plus people. And that's because she's finding like-minded people that are all on the same mission. And I think that's really what it's about, is like this. We all have a vision of something better, and we know whatever is in place right now is failing and failing big time. So the only way that you can do something about it is find people that want to have that shared mission, shared values, and really go change how things are being utilized.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to run parallel to this women's health initiative. Now that because anytime someone brings up like it will cause cancer or it's bad for you, it's like, where?
Yeah.
Show me.
Right.
We have numbers that completely negate what you're saying. So please refer
show us
to what you're talking about here.
The other cool thing that the Silverback Summit I thought was neat and kind of our big push is, I did a public health degree. It all kind of came together in the past few weeks. I had this like eye-opening experience. And as a master's in public health, when you achieve that, you develop this reasoning that like the environment is always stronger than the individual. And it is, which is why people say, well, put yourself in the right environment. Now, I've noticed that is true. And I do believe that statement is good for the population. But I also think there are different individuals, and I'm starting to see more and more of them, and I'm starting to really embrace it, because I've always had this thought in my head where it was like, yes, I'm a product of the environment, but at any point in time, I can change the environment by becoming a force strong enough that people around me then have to adjust to me, whatever that might be. It might not be a full overtaking right away, but it's subtle. I started eating more carrots. The people around me started eating more carrots. I started exercising. People around me started exercising more. We witness it here, right?
Yesterday.
We have some people of different sizes, shapes, ages, races, whatever it might be. But the one thing is, everybody's pretty damn healthy. So if you unite behind any health, whatever it might be, for the drive of developing the individual and empowering the individual, you instantly empower the environment, right? But the cool thing about the summits we were just at, in not one of those arenas did they talk about the group. It was more like, we love this group because it's all really strong individuals. Like, everybody in that room was dangerous. Like, there was nobody in that room you would have wanted to walk up to and be like, well, this is the person I'm going to pick a fucking fight with, right?
Yeah.
But everyone knew nobody's going to do that, because if you did that, the rest of the room would tell you, don't be a prick. There was such a mutual respect of really smart people and people really deep in their health, men, women. It was awesome. I think an environment we develop with health will always benefit people around it. And yesterday was an ode to the fact of how much effort goes into developing people's health and putting out a product. There were people yesterday doing things I didn't think they could do.
Yeah.
And I believe in people way beyond their capacity. It was really cool to see. What's your takeaway from that? I mean, in terms of, as a owner of a facility that you've built this community over time, like, how good did that feel?
It was awesome. And I'll say this, like, to hit on the environment, like, one of the best ways to change your habits and your behaviors is changing your environment.
Yeah.
Right? We've said that a million times. And when we go back to saying, like, hey, the people that participated in yesterday's challenge have been here for years, and I don't think I've seen anyone output the amount of effort and the attention, not only yesterday, but the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I said this at the end of yesterday's thing. It's super impressive to see people just like go out and send it.
Yeah.
It was more impressive to know all the work that went before.
Yeah.
That their commitment, their dedication for the last 7 weeks has been so spot on that it was able to show up in that environment and make the environment. Like, they made the environment. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, those guys brought the electricity. Those guys brought the enthusiasm, and they fed on one another.
Yeah.
And even though people were competing technically, everyone cheered for one another.
Yeah.
So take that as, like, if we look at it as through a microscope, it's like, if you came from a place where maybe you were spending your time going out to eat, drinking on the weekend, and now you're showing up on a Saturday morning, balls out
at 7 a.m.
You know what I mean? Like, you've already won.
Yeah.
You really have. And like everyone would acknowledge that, celebrate it, and make sure that you don't lose track of that.
Yeah.
So
it felt really good. It was an awesome sight to see. And it's the suffering but all of it is beneficial. You know what I mean? It all turns into something better. Huge shout out to Corey Barrios, who's one of Mike's trainers, spectacular guy for events
basically
like this.
emceed it, man.
He's really, really, really good at motivating, incredibly good at training. But one of the offerings here in terms of people that Mike puts in front of the consumer. Marcus, how you doing, man? We got him hanging out. He's still around if anybody was worried.
I'm all good.
But you're traveling soon, right?
Yeah, Puerto Rico.
What's going on down there?
Not much, seeing family, just seeing some things.
Now, talk to me. Background? Are you Puerto Rican background?
Yeah.
Mom?
Half Puerto Rican.
Nice. Good food?
Yeah.
They got plantains down there, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So good. I got addicted to plantain chips from JetBlue. They always come around with those little bags of plantain chips, and the first time I had them, so good.
Yeah.
I think they're reasonably a little oily. So
they're like a potato chip.
They're like a potato. We're gonna try to consolidate all of our electronic, social media, everything, and really put it into one spot. We're gonna have online offerings for exercise, nutrition, diet, blood work. We're really expanding. We're really trying to deliver health to the consumer, real healthcare, exercise, nutrition, foundational. Leverage your physiology against the world. Keep yourself healthy. Until next time, stay aggressively healthy, and I'll see you later.
See you.